right, well, we got Mike Jones last week, so we had to get the other side of our main event here. Jarome Hatch making the walk, looking to become the first double champion in quite some time, the first since Bobby King, actually. Jerome, how you feeling, man?
Feel good. So just got done with training. Good to be able to train up here in the altitude for this one. So
Yeah, I think one of the big questions that I've wondered is obviously you fought the majority, I believe all but one of your fights has been in the state of Utah. Have you always been able to train in Utah, or I know that you've also spent some time in Texas. Have the last couple been training camps in Texas?
yeah, majority of them the last probably the last 3 years, 2 years has kind of been in Texas. I mean, it's been consistently wherever I'm living, but I couldn't really say they're really camps. I mean, I'll cut my weight and go running and all that, but it's actually nice to be able to actually get some training. Shane, Stoneman, he came out and started giving me actual training. Maybe a year ago, not even that. So we've actually been able to kind of consistently train boxing for the last year, and so to actually be able to get back into jiu-jitsu, being here is, man, it's awesome, man. The head just, I mean, it's loving it. So
You just mentioned so many things that I want to bring up, and the number one thing that flew off the page was the weight. I know that you are cutting a little bit more weight headed into this one. How is your body feeling as you are starting to hit into that calorie deficit and that depleting process?
um, trying to do it right. I've been if I have any questions, I'll reach out to Damage Plan, nutrition, right? Jason, just sit there and run some things past him. Been trying to work some things out. It's just, it's my fault. You know what I mean? So I'm like, hey, you think you could probably help me? He's like, and he's so wrapped up with everything right now, but he helps out a lot. If I have any questions, man, he's right there. But and of course me, oh, I got 3 weeks out. Let me start doing this and that. I'm never doing it right. But this one, man, over the last while, I've actually been kind of trying to cut down a little more, be more of a solid 205er, because I do cut down to 195 for BYB bare knuckle. So it's been 11 years since I've been down to this, and so I'm like trying to really cut down and just make it right. Try to do it right. That way I don't feel depleted when I get in there. I still have my strength.
Yeah, considering 16 years as a pro, I know that you have cut a lot of weight in the past, but there's also been a lot of times that you've naturally kind of fought at your natural weight. Do you feel like the longevity of your career has benefited you because of the lack of cutting weight over the years? And does that make this one not as difficult?
Um, I guess, yeah. I mean, that's safe to say because, I do. I mean, whenever I cut, man, I'm cutting like 5 to 7 pounds, 8 pounds at 205. And it's not, I mean, it doesn't take a lot, once I start getting my body regular, and get everything, everything moving right, like a well-oiled machine, the weight will come off pretty quick. So I've been kind of testing the waters to see, especially like I said, with that bare knuckle, I've been testing to see, I can get down to about where I plateau is about 201 is where I've been plateauing. So I still got, a little more. I've been trying to work them little, quirks out, you know what I mean, just to start. But I'm getting down, so it's been good. It's kind of a finicky time for me, right? Because I don't want to lose too much to where I'm still bigger, because if you're not doing it right, you lose not only your fat, but you also, you're losing your muscle too. So I just want to make sure that I'm staying up on my weightlifting and then also my cardio and then training. And so it takes a full day. I mean, it's 3 or 4 times a day I'm going at it with including my weightlifting, my weight training. So
Yeah, you talked a little bit about Shane Stoneman, who I see in that top left corner of that awesome banner you got behind you.
there.
And so I wanted to ask you, I didn't know that. So have you and Shane really only been training together for a year or so?
So we started working together, just made 10 years. But man, I mean, anybody that knows me, I would, like, even before, last couple of years, I would fly him in, like even for, the Chris Curtis fight. I flew him in 4 days before I actually had to fly back up here. So I only trained like 4 or 5 days for that fight, in general. But yeah, I just, and I just go in there and do my thing. I had never really trained a whole lot. When I was actually taking it seriously was, long time ago. You know what I mean? To kind of see, well, I was working outages, so I'd be working for 3 or 4 months and I'd be off for a month or two. and that'd be, it was just kind of fluctuating. So when I was off, but so it was nice to be able to get in there. And then of course your life, you're like, oh, hey, I want to party, I want to do all this other shit, so, but yeah, so no, I mean, but consistently, really the last 9 months, 10 months, me and Shane have been consistent.
That is so cool. I love watching you two work together. I think that you two are just a great pairing for each other. Obviously, one of the top striking coaches, obviously one of the most powerful punchers that the state has to offer. And so it's a whole lot of fun. Not to mention, actually, the #1 light heavyweight in the entire country, according to Tapology, the #3 pound for pound fighter for Fierce Fighting Championship. Hopefully, you'll be rising those ranks as time goes on. I got to ask you, Jarome, 8th fight in 12 months. How's your body feeling? How are you holding up? Not in terms of the weight or anything, but just in terms of, are you hurting? I mean, you just came off of a fight in bare knuckle. I mean, you've been fighting very consistently over the last 12 months.
Yeah. I just kind of looked at it. I was like, well, let's push the body and see what we can do. That way it's kind of like work. I would push my guys and push even more to see what I was comfortable doing. That way, when I do get the call from Fierce or BYB, I can say, okay, it's 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 6 weeks. Yeah, I'm good. And it all just kind of, differentiates from the fight. But I mean, I haven't been hurt yet. You know what I mean? So it's been good. My body, with everything I'm doing right, with the supplements that I'm using, and then also, hell, even, I mean, Water and Wellness, man, they got a whole bunch of stuff up there. And these guys, man, they're on it, trying to make sure that I'm taken care of. So for an actual sponsor that does trade work and stuff between them and Provo Death or Glory, man, it's and Sign Guys, obviously, for my anytime I need anything, man, they're drop the hat. So it's been good.
Oh no, go ahead. I apologize.
No, I was just saying it's been good, man, and being with my fiance now over the last almost going on 3 years now. It's 2.5. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's been she has made sure that my shit's I mean, her level's like up here, so I like have to try to keep up, but she makes sure my shit's in check. She lets me splurge, but then every once in a while she'll, hey, stop. So I'm like, all right, my bad, but dude, my body bounces back. 36 years old right now. Sometimes I wouldn't say that I feel it, because I don't think 36 is old. My mind definitely thinks that I can do a hell of a lot more than my body does, but I mean, that's been since I was 20, so, but I am taking the right tracks and steps to making sure that everything's good to where I can keep chasing these fights as a quick turnaround and try to get some more belts and some more recognition to filter into my next step in life. So.
You brought up being 20 years old and thinking that you could be one of the best fighters, and obviously up until now, like, you're still competing at an extremely high level, winning 3 of your last 4 in MMA. And I wanted to ask you specifically about the longevity side of things. What got you into this? Like, what made you want to start fighting? Because I mean, I hope this is fair to say, but like you've told me, like, a lot of times you go in there and you just kind of do your thing. And,
yep.
and, sometimes there's a extensive training camp, but there's been other times where it hasn't been that way. What got you into fighting in the first place?
So, a lot of people, I mean, people know my story, just specks of it. I grew up fighting. I got a twin brother. We grew up, there was always competition. We moved around a lot. And so being able to move around, I mean, back in the day, which, I mean, it still kind of happens today, but it's a lot more, vigorous. You new kid on the block, right? And we'd have to, see our place in line, and we would scrap. Every time we get to a new school, we'd scrap. The girls, we'd scrap over girls. I mean, it was always a big thing. So I fought, man, I don't know how many times. I mean, I have been in numerous fights, but what actually got me into doing it in the cage was a judge. He seen me I was kind of testing myself. It'd be 2 assault charges, then 3, and then 4, and then 5. And geez, he's seeing how many people I could, get at one time, but they would always end up filing charges on me when not, I mean, 50, 60% of the time, I wasn't even me starting it. I mean, I guess my mouth, but yeah, I mean, so the judge finally, in the end of it, just said, hey, next time I see you in here, I'm gonna throw the book at you. He said, no more. And then he said, if you have, whatever you have built up, whatever you need to do to get shit taken out, they have professional, they have a fighting league up in Salt Lake, which was, Mike Stenham's back in the day. And so that was kind of the thing. And I was up there, I'd fight every week, every other week. I mean, it didn't matter. They'd call me, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. But it kept me out of the streets and it kept me out of trouble. So ever since then, with traveling the world, and mainly the country, with work, I've been in maybe a dozen scraps outside of the cage, and all in self-defense. But that's how I kind of got into it. And, you're just, when you start steamrolling people, I'm not training. I kept wanting to see where I was at. I didn't get training until I was 9 or 10 years into it. And so I was like, oh, hell, let's see where we're at. Let's see, test myself against these guys that were doing nothing but training. And I was competing with them, higher levels of Utah. So that's kind of where, that's kind of a quick little nutshell of a story of why I started doing it. And then the fans, you get out there and you're into the light and you hear everybody. It used to be Chavez, everybody chanting Chavez, and then it went to the hatchet. And man, it's, I think about it and all these memories pop up, man. It's just, it's good. It's good. So
you talk about, first of all, incredible story. And so the motivation was kind of to stay out of trouble. Now at 36, a family, you have a child coming on the way right now. What's the motivation now at 36?
So I kind of look at it as, I guess when there comes a point in a man's life, where you have to conquer. And you can only conquer for so long. If you look at it, a lion, right? So you can only conquer and be the king for so long before eventually you become the dinner for the next. So if I can set that level to my kids, to see me eating right, training, pushing myself, but also being a father to them, making sure I don't miss anything of their sports or anything of that nature, unless it just happens to fall on the thing. But making sure I'm very present for my relationship with everybody around me, and then also being able to go out there and do that to show them there is a discipline and you can find a balance with such a hectic life, but also push yourself and always test yourself. And I've lost my kids there, and I've won. And so that way it shows them the resilience or the stoicism, like no matter what comes on to you, life's hard, right? You're going to get beat down sometimes. Sometimes you're going to be the nail. Sometimes you can be the hammer. But just to really show my kids, like, hey, at 36 years old, guys, as long as you take care of your body, man, you can hang with the young punks. So
that being said, you get to make the walk on August 26th in your 6th main event. Do you enjoy being the top of the marquee? Do you enjoy being that main event fight? Or do you prefer at times, being a couple notches down? You don't have to have all the lights on you. You don't have to do all the interviews and things like that.
It doesn't bother me. Honestly, it's nice every once in a while to switch it up, just because I like to hang out with the fans, and that's the only thing that I can say about the Maverick Center is once they're done, man, they're shoving people out. I get checked by the doctor and they're shoving people out. I can't really even say hi to too many people, That's the only, I guess, downfall. But I don't mind. I always said, man, either way, I'm the main event. Everybody comes to watch me. It's loud, it's fun, and then, doesn't matter who's headlining the card. That's how I look at it. So
this is very off track, but I've just got to ask it. Mike Goldberg, the legendary UFC broadcaster who calls your fights in bare knuckle, he calls you Jarome Hatchet. Now, as the MMA side of things for the play-by-play for Fierce Fighting Championship, do you want me calling you Jarome Hatchet or do you want Jarome Hatch? I'll call you whatever you want. I've called you Shane Stoneman before on accident.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, he does, Jerome Hatch. It doesn't matter, man. It's Jerome Hatch. So I'm a Hatch through and through, man. Respect to my grandpa, rest in peace, but I'm a Hatch. Got the Hatch blood, but the Hatchet was actually the way that I kind of come across that name. Was actually somebody in prison. They had a whole thing back in the day, and they wrote me a big they had a bunch of inmates make me a big card, and there was one that come out and had a picture of me that said the hatchet, and got to the point where everybody kept asking where's Chavez from, and so I just kind of changed the branding and just tried to market myself that way. So, but yeah, dude, Jerome the Hatch or the Hatchet, yeah, that's why I always tell people, I'm like, it's the Hatchet Hatch, you know what I mean? Jerome the Hatchet Hatch, but you can call me Jerome Hatch, you can call me Hatchet, I don't care. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make me anybody.
Jerome, what do you make of Mike Jones as an opponent? Both of you have been around for a long time, and both of you are very, very talented in your own right. I mean, you have 3 times the amount of fights as he has, but nonetheless, he's no scrub either with 16 fights under his belt and some big names under his belt as well.
It's funny that you say that because I didn't even know who he was. You know what I mean? I didn't, and he's been around, but I never really kept up with the local MMA scene. It was just kind of like, hey, who do you want? Or and still I don't. You know what I mean? They call me. I'm like, yeah, sure, come on. Doesn't matter who, what, when, where. Doesn't matter how big the dog is. So, but yeah, they said. I mean, it's not worried about it. You know what I mean? I don't see nothing. I hadn't seen it. I watched a couple of his fights, just kind of glanced through just to see, and I just sat back with a smile. It wasn't impressing me much. You know what I mean? So it's all I know is he ain't met a motherfucker quite like me. So, and he's fixing to know that. He knows that. But yeah, I don't pay too much attention, man, to be honest with you.
You've got 46 MMA fights, not to mention all of your bare knuckle fights as well. But
And this will be the 176th walk I've done between everything.
I heard Mike Goldberg say that on the call of your last fight, and I was dying to know a little bit more of an explanation. So we do have the ones on the books, right? But what are some of those? I mean, 130 that are off the books, or 120 that are off the books?
So, Tough Mans was a big thing, when I was starting to go, and they're non-sanctioned, but up in Wyoming or West Virginia or wherever I was traveling, if they had a Tough Man, I would get in on it. And so you would fight 3, 4, 5, 6 fights sometimes in one night, and that's kind of, you would make that walk, and that's what it was. So you'd enter, sometimes they'd be, you'd try to finish it as fast as you could, but I mean, it was a lot of more just 2 rounds to where, if you're tied, then you had to go to the 3rd round. But there was never a tie. I would get in there and just put it on them real quick. So, but that's where it all came from, man. So this would be my 176th walk in a combat sport, whether it is to the ring or to the cage.
Is there a specific fight amongst those of 176 walks? Is there a specific fight that reigns supreme in your mind as one of the best memories or one of the best moments that you've had inside a ring or a cage?
No, I like when you kind of, when you freeze someone up, when the highlight reel knockouts, those are always fun. But I also like submitting people only for the simple fact that they give up, they submit to you. But the crowd's there to watch a knockout, and that's what I'm going to go, look forward to doing. That's what I try to do each time.
You've been around. I mean, obviously you've been around longer than this, but in terms of official bouts, you've been in the MMA world since 2007. When you look back at the last 16 years, is there a specific thing that comes to mind? It's like, wow, this has really changed, or this has really developed, be it the fighting styles, be it the way that organizations are put together, or anything like that?
Man, that's kind of I think the biggest, I can tell you, man, the way Utah has always done it, and especially lately, since Scott's really taken over, no disrespect to Bill, he did good, but he was Bill, right? But man, it runs like a smooth machine now, well-oiled machine. You go to different states, man, or different countries, and you're fighting, the athletic commission's very just, okay, yeah, okay, you know what I mean? It's just very kind of relaxed. So Utah's been very good as far as that. Promotion wise, you have some that are better than the other, but hey, I guess as long as the check clears, I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? So you're out there to do the same thing. You're making that walk, and you're going to do the same thing the other guy's going to do.
Do you ever miss those small town shows at all? Those ones from years ago?
Yeah. I like getting out and I like to mingle. I like to talk to people. So those were good about them shows, as you had the, you were able to do that. I mean, how we had one promotion, man, that my daughter, I think she was like 5 or 6 at the time. She was a little ring girl for my fight. You know what I mean? So it
Oh,
was really cool it was very family oriented, and they were just very like, you know, hey, very, night or, close knit. They treat you like family. And so that's the good thing about it. But, man, like Fierce too, they treat me well. And, out of respect, man, they've done me nothing but good, man. Same with, Showdown. When I start getting into them bigger shows, man, it was awesome. With the amount of tickets I would sell, I'd have a steak dinner there by Will, rest in peace, but he would have a steak dinner there at the after party for me, just waiting. So, I mean, dude, but I get in, like I said, and I get to know the people of the promotion, and I try to really mingle, and that way people know who I am. Just because I get out there and fight and do this barbaric, this whole thing, it's all crazy fighting, whatever. It's just a sport, man. It's just kind of a release, I guess, just kind of, I like to test myself. So that's why when they call and say who, I said, give me the biggest one. I don't care.
first of all, we got to talk to Zach and make sure that you can stay in the arena after. Well, I guess you are the main event, so it's not really like there's an opportunity to do that. I mean, typically you're near the end of the night, because I was going to say, I mean, the prelim fighters, they just come and hang out throughout the entire Maverick Center after the show.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess
I would just like to give me like 20 minutes where I could take pictures with all these people that buy tickets from me or tables. These people are spending thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars to come out, and it'd just be nice because a lot of them, they have their kids. I mean, they can't go out and go out afterwards, and to get that many people to try to meet in one place, doesn't really happen. So, and a lot of the time, man, I don't go out afterwards because I got my kids.
Yeah.
So.
Jarome, you've won 3 of your last 4 MMA fights, and you've been the performances have been very stellar. And I've been lucky enough to call them, and it's been quite rewarding to watch you go on this streak that you've been on. I just got to ask you, is there anything that changed? I mean, I know you talked about training and taking it a little bit more seriously, but is there anything specifically that changed in your life that's brought you from, someone who was, it was kind of a 50-50, 60-40 situation to now you're winning 75% of your fights every time you make that walk?
I mean, I made big changes in my life. You know what I mean? I got a divorce, and then, kind of who you surround yourself with is kind of what it is. And when you start taking yourself seriously, and you either force people to take you seriously or not, that huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I mean, it was, that amongst meeting, the most wonderful woman, you know what I mean? And then, man, just my mind shift. I mean, it changed once I really hit bare knuckle, like, that one loss is complete. You know what I mean? I mean, it is what it is, but, I mean, I beat him 99 out of 100 times. He just got his one. My mindset wasn't there, wasn't in that fight. But, and if he wasn't so boring, it kind of makes me want to ask so I can knock his ass out. But he's a pretty boring fighter. Just likes to lay on somebody. Don't give really a crowd a show. But I mean, the mind shift. I mean, it is switched for me, and I mean that's it, man. But just the mind shift, the mindset. I've done a lot of work on my mind, so it's kind of a, if you're going to be in this realm, you have to go for it. And the only way to go for it is to, be relentless and not let up.
36 years old, 176 walks, and you are still at the top of your game as you head into this main event. Jarome, last question for me. What can people expect from you on August 26th?
Well, if anybody's come out there to watch, man, I'll keep you on the edge of your seats. You'll be surprised at the pace that I can uphold being able to train up here at the elevation. So I really looking forward to making that walk in front of the people, and be able to perform while I'm here throughout this camp. But I mean, you guys know what to expect, except for I am going for a knockout highlight reel. I don't think that he'll stand with me. I think he'll bitch out, because I mean they pretty much all do. So yeah, it's I'll meet him in the middle, and so we'll see if he will. I mean, he might meet me in the middle for a minute, but I know that he won't. Or when he gets tagged, his ego might let him. But once he gets tagged, he's going to try to take me down, and I'm ready for it anyway. So it don't make a shit to me. I've been training with the best people I feel in the state. you know. So, and then I got great coaches, and it's just nice to be able to actually be consistent with the jiu-jitsu and wrestling side. So anything he wants to throw, it kind of makes me just want to toy with him, just to kind of not necessarily belittle him, but also break his spirit, letting him know that there's no chance. I mean, his wife's seen me fight for I don't know how many years, and I just keep getting steady better over the last year. And he's, you know, who she thinks I might be to help him out, it's a totally different animal. He's fixing to get it. So, but hey, much respect to him. Like I said, you know, before they came to the last little interview, they gave me a gift for my baby, man. You know, I know his wife really well. We've gone back, you know, quite a few years, man. And if he makes her happy, that's great. So nothing but respect, but respect stops when that gate closes when I make that walk.
No, I think that's the number one thing. We did do an interview, and unfortunately we had some technical difficulties, but all respect between you two. But once that cage closes, it will be a whole different story on August 26th. He has some of the most devastating power in the entire state of Utah, and we cannot wait to see him make the walk on August 26th at the Maverick Center. Jarome Hatch, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on here. Appreciate the sponsors, and also appreciate the people that make it happen, all the fans. So thank you guys very much for the consistent support.